Imagine a husband, gently placing his hand against the safe glass as he lovingly looks at his newborn, fussing among the sea of others. He gazes at her face, which looks so much like her mother's, and mourns as he wonders what he will tell her when she begins to ask about her. How does he tell her that her mother felt uneasiness, advocated for herself, and got dismissed? How does he tell her that her mother died of a blood clot, a preventable one, just minutes after giving birth to her? His side eyes His sad eyes rest upon her closed ones, and he mourns for his daughter too. Imagine a woman in labor at home in her bathtub, looking pleadingly into her doula's eyes, trusting her expertise, but silently wishing that she would have just bit her tongue and went to the hospital. She shakes her head, snapping out of it, convinced that she is better off in the safety of her home. She has a better chance at raising her child, a better chance at survival. She locks eyes with her doula and musters up all the strength she has left to push. What both of these examples have in common is that there was a black woman involved. A black woman who had the ability to give life, but yet had hers stolen from her. And another who chose to stay away from the people who are supposed to help her. The passing away of mothers, like my first example, is a terrible private tragedy when seen up close. But if you step back, a picture of a public health emergency that has been concealed for the last 30 years begins to take shape. In contrast to other wealthy nations throughout the world, maternal fatalities in the United States started to climb around 1990 after decades of reduction. Rates have more than doubled by 2013. According to estimates by the CDC, 700 to 900 new and pregnant moms pass away in the United States every year, and an additional 500,000 women suffer from potentially fatal postpartum problems. Pregnant and postpartum black women have been additionally more likely to die of hemorrhage or embolism. In researchers' analysis done by the CDC, embolism and preeclampsia tied for the main purpose of maternal loss of life. More than half of these fatalities and near fatalities are attributable to avoidable causes, and a worrying proportion of these victims are black women. Simply put, giving birth can be a death sentence for black women more than often for white women. Their chances of surviving childbirth, according to the World Health Organization, are comparable to those of women in nations with higher rates of poverty, such as Mexico. The rise in black maternal mortality has been dubbed as a crisis and is now joining alongside the lifelong fight for reproductive justice. As is common in the media today, the struggle for reproductive justice for black women involves more than just access to abortion. These women battle tirelessly to maintain their rights to choose whether or not to have children, to give birth whether they choose in a safe and educated manner, and to raise those children however they see fit. Studies show that black women are more likely to be uninsured, have greater financial barriers to health care, and are less likely to have access to quality OB care. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated these social detriments of health, with black and Hispanic women facing the most form of unemployment and lack of childcare options. There's also a great deal of skepticism in the American medical system, which has purposefully hurt black women through forced sterilization as well as research, and has not put their lives and well being first. Therefore, there is a history of abuse and violence at doctor's appointments, during pregnancy, labor, and delivery. And of course, like most things, the struggles of black women today is the roll off and infamy left of slavery. Due to racism that dates back to slavery, black women still experience unique challenges when trying to access health care. They have had to struggle in a medical system that hasn't historically believed in or supported them. Enslaved women in the 18th and early 19th centuries frequently performed forced childbearing in addition to manual labor from an early age. As rearing white children was essential to their survival, this coerced position frequently resulted in the involuntary neglect of their own children. As a result, black women's reproductive lives were co-opted and became somebody else's responsibility. For instance, black mothers who were enslaved were forced to nurse other white infants rather than their own children. Luckily, there are people who realize the growing fault in our system. People who are willing to speak up and advocate on behalf of those who are deemed voiceless. Birth and reproductive justice advocates are taking dynamic jobs to battle these shameful acts and assist with further developing birth results for black moms and their children. Here are only a couple of pioneers who are sorting out, preparing, and teaching for the sake of Black maternal well being. There is the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, who through their backing and examination has turned into a strong voice for the reproductive justice movement. This group consists of a strong drove of teachers, mothers, specialists, and activists in Georgia who are attempting to change public approach in regards to Black maternal well being. Then we have March of Dimes. Notwithstanding their endeavors to address the maternal well being emergency and maternity care deserts in the U.S., the March of Dimes is one of the main associates supporting the Black Maternal Health Omnibus Act of 2021. They're giving implicit bias by training 15,000 medical service suppliers. The association has likewise collaborated with the U.S. branch of Health and Human Services and United Healthcare Community to finance a quality improvement experimental run program pointed toward further developing maternal well-being results for Black women. I have nothing but respect for the many women and thankfully men who are using their platforms and power to bring light to this harmful situation. In the United States, we have men dictating the bodies of women, picking and choosing who gets to survive and who gets to live a fruitful life. Every decision that is made further deteriorates and affects the lives of those who have and are still being seen as disposable and unworthy beings. At the end of the day, every child deserves to feel the love of their mother, but yet families are being stripped. However, this is still claimed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. But I digress.